thank you very much. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global event in a globalized society. And one of its peculiarities is that by August, it's still an ongoing phenomenon. Thus, any analysis or description is provisional and or contingent. So the aims of our presentation are to describe criteria used in the process of including any treating neologies in dictionaries of Spanish within the framework of this instability of the pandemic, which does not allow us to establish what will become of the lexis of the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll start from our data obtained from the Antenas Neológicas network, and we will focus on three dictionaries: the Antenario, that is a monolingual dictionary of neologisms of Spanish varieties, the Diccionario de la Lengua Española, DITLE, and the Diccionario of COVID-19, Spanish and English, Tremedica, that is a bilingual unidirectional English-Spanish dictionary. Our working hypothesis is that the need to record and define words which were so recently created impacts on the lexicographic criteria applied to select and treat them, included a certain degree of overlap of some features which are traditionally thought to be specific to each type of dictionary. So, which are the characteristics of the features of Spanish neology? I won't say now because they're very similar to other languages, but I want to say that one characteristic that the changes in the way of words circulate. Infrequently used words diffused through non-institutional lexicographic records, for example, coronavirus or coronadengue, published by dictionaries that not follow rigorous lexicographic practices, may circulate these words, like the COVID Diccionario or Diccionario Latinoamericano de la Lengua Española. So in our framework, we assume some things we have said in another work about the paradoxical nature of neologisms, but also in the same word, we identify three properties of dictionaries of neologisms: that they are transition devices, because lexical units collected are in the late stage of the condition of neologisms. They are remedial devices, because the lexical units which are not included in general language dictionaries, and they are also documents. Also in our framework, we have follow this most cited criteria for inclusion of neologisms in dictionary, but mostly we will see that witness nature of new words and need for namings are very important. And as Bernal Frey Chantournet said in 2020 about the DLE criteria, it's important to see that there is an internal coherence in the dictionary that takes precedence: the completed derivative series and lexical sets, the representing dialectical variants, and orienting normative use. Also, words created in accordance with Spanish and word formation rules are favored over borrowings. So we have 321 neologisms detected by the Antenas Neológicas network, and as you can see, our three dictionaries used just 13 by the DLE, 63 by the Antenario, and 87 Tremedica. We also looked at the corpus to see, in order to verify which items were exclusive of the pandemic. So I won't stop with the Antenas Neológicas network, but here you can say the 6 countries that work in detecting neologisms. But we start with the analysis. The analysis is how and what words were selected and how they were represented in their entries in these 3 dictionaries. So the first one is Tremedica. It's an online one-way bilingual dictionary published in the web page of an international organization that groups together translators and writers that are specialized in medicine or health care. You can see that although it's bilingual, it is the largest systematic lexicographic collection of COVID-19 vocabulary in Spanish. And besides of that, it collects basic terminology around COVID-19 in English, covering different aspects of the related to the pandemic. The most headwords and their equivalents are specialized, but also there are the everyday lexes, included words created and popularized in social media, as we have seen before in the other presentation. The dictionary has a functional user-oriented focus. So, although most of the headwords and their equivalents are terminology, a wide variety of types and forms of neological lexical unit included both in Spanish and English, with very few restrictions. As you can see, many kinds of different types, and borrowings. But the big exception is that in accordance with the Real Academia Española normative recommendations, calques and direct loanwords tend to be avoided even in cases where the borrowed variant is more frequent. For example, in fake news, that is definitely more frequent in different countries of Spanish language than the calque. Another important feature of the Letra Médica is that some equivalents coined in accordance with word formation rules of Spanish are rarely used in Spanish texts. For example, in Corona Snitch, they put Corona Buchón and Corona Soplón that have only 5 occurrences in Google. So as regards to the microstructure, for every word, as you can see in Essential Workers, they put in English and the equivalents in Spanish, and they gave some synonymy in both languages. And there are some optional fields like concepto and note that are very interesting, these optional fields, because they put much information about the neologisms. No? This is very important in the case of neologisms, because these fields are used to, among other things, give the definition, the use of the word, the normative recommendation, and the stylistic variants. As you can see here in Corona, the last part of the entry, they put many synonyms of Corona, but they are not recommended. The Antenario, on the other side, is an online lexicographic dictionary of neologisms from the 6 countries of the Antenas Neológicas. And in September, we publish 20 new entries every month. And the information is taken about the Antenas Neológicas. In December 2020, we published a special issue of 49 entries, as you can check there. In December 2021, we will have 18 new ones, and we will have further entries in 2022. We have to say that a large amount of neologisms recorded in the database of the Antenas Neológicas network were deemed as unsuitable for publication in the dictionary because they are considered or occasional slip like Corona Pizza, and ephemeral neologisms, most of them still hapex like Corona Bullying. So the criteria for choosing the entries are these: the high row frequency, that they are documented in most of the network's rows, that they have dialectal or graphic variants, and many of colloquialisms were considered because they were not apex and were witnesses words, such as cumpleaños. So, what about the DLE? The DLE is a dictionary that you know it's the most important in Spanish, and it updates every November, and in 2020 included at least 15 changes related to the pandemic. Some were inclusion of entries, as you can see, and others were changes in existing entry. We think that the criteria are that different situations regarding the degree of newness of the word, that they are formed from Spanish bases and morphemes like videollamada, although it's a calque, and there are no loan ones and very few calques included. What about the microstructure of these 2 monolingual dictionaries? We can see that the fact of the pandemic is an ongoing and unstable phenomena also impacts on features of the microstructural level, such as definitions. For example, what they do with the referential extension. We have seen that we can detect 3 kinds of treatment in the definitions. First, DLE and Antenario offers definitions that make no reference at all to the COVID-19 pandemic, such as desconfinar in the DLE. The other case is that just in the antenario, in some definition, the extension to the pandemic or other phenomena linked to it appears restricted with formula, such in applausazo, which says, especially to the COVID situations, no? And the third case is also just by the antenario, that specific words which are unlikely to be used with other reference or in the future situations also include references to the pandemic in the definition. GWLN has none of these cases. So, what we want to discuss and conclude. We have seen that Spanish neologisms during the COVID-19 pandemic are characteristically extremely recent items referring to a phenomenon still in process, which provides little time to evaluate frequency of use and degree of stabilization of the items. So we will focus our discussion and conclusions in this question. How has this impacted on the criteria in different types of lexicographic tools and, as a result, on dictionary typology and their social role? First, as regards microstructure, we have seen that Tremedica, it has the extremely new nature of the neologisms is evident in the amount of extralinguistic or uses explanations in these two files, concept and note. As regards the monolingual dictionary, the antenario, which is a neologisms dictionary, and the GWLN, the resources deployed in the antenario to reflect the extension of reference of the neologisms analyzed, which often make allusion to the COVID-19 pandemic, are more suitable, in our view, than the one used in the GWLN in terms of showing of the words, the newness of the words and their reference, the extension. No? As regards the macrostructure, the Tremedica, it has many of the items suggested as Spanish equivalents are proposals coined by the authors, or they are ephemeral. This can become a problem in the field of lexicography because these items are thus documented and the documentation can later be retrieved by other lexicographic tools or the press as evidence of actual use. About the macrostructure with the antenario and the GWLN, they are both monolingual dictionary, have been true to the pre-pandemic criteria when selection COVID-19 neologisms. However, in both cases, institutionalization of neologisms is a criterion that has been significantly influenced, sometimes distorted, by the unfinished, unstable nature of the phenomenon of the pandemic. So this discussion won't be complete without including a few words of the Diccionario Histórico de la Lengua Española, which was first published online first time in April 21, recently, somehow modifying the lexicographic landscape in Spanish. This dictionary claims to describe every aspect of the history of the lexics. It gives diatopic, diastratic, chronologic information. And the headwords list includes now a large number of recent lexical units, most of which are not included in the GWLN and were created in last year and this year, derived from Corona. There are 28 entries with Corona, 27 with COVID, such as coronoico and covidilio. Here you can see the coronachivato that I mentioned before, no? And this coronachivato was just seen 5 times in Google, and here it has only 2 documents that support the existence of the word. Both of them are related to the Tremedica, because the first example is given by Navarro, which is one of the authors of Tremedica. And here is the Navarro, no? But here you can see Saladrigas is the Tremedica. So the word is assumed to exist because it has been included and given full treatment in one of RAE's dictionaries. So we conclude that there has been a circularity in Spanish lexicography regarding COVID-19 authors, neologisms, and occasionalists. Between those recorded in different lexicographical tools, often resulting in the non-verification of the use of the words, those in the Diccionario Histórico, their use in the press, because then the press said many things of this Diccionario Histórico, such as, many of the words, their use in the press, and their social circulation and mentions. So this claim about this circularity and its impact on how these words circulated socially leads us to suggest three issues that need to be further studied. First, marketing and dictionaries, but we can talk many about this now. Second, the notion of neologisms itself. And third, the typology of dictionaries. We can say that the properties of being transition devices or remedial devices, we have said about the dictionary of neologisms, they do not seem to be exclusive of this kind of dictionaries when dealing with COVID-19 lexis. So thank you very much.